Hey, this is Nick Fogelson from Northwest Endometriosis and Pelvic Surgery. I wanted to record a little video in response to something that was published recently. A surgeon who's an academic surgeon basically wrote a large piece that was very critical of surgeons who put stuff online and surgeons that put things in social media and put surgical videos online and so forth. And it was an interesting sort of piece. And you could say I'm being defensive. I don't really feel defensive about it because I don't care what this person thinks, but I kind of want to give you a little bit of a different perspective. I mean, you probably haven't read that thing, but people who are really kind of like conservative and they're in academia, a lot of them kind of look down on surgeons who put stuff on social media and online as if we're doing something wrong. Like, medicine is kind of conservative, and medicine has these kind of old ideas. One of them is that doctors should never advertise. That's beneath physicians to actually advertise for their services. And that doctors shouldn't be involved in the business. Doctors should just purely be involved in medical care, and other people should handle the dirty business. That's too dirty for doctors to touch. And people who are in academia or who are just paid a salary and so forth, maybe they can think that way. But people in private practice know that, okay, if you're in a private practice business, you will want to operate a business and be thoughtful about those things so that you can have a successful practice and in turn help people, because the fact that we have a successful practice allows me to help hundreds of people a year. I mean, these are cards from people that are happy with what we've done. So there's no question that being involved in social media is very important for having a successful practice. So that's one part of it. But the other part I want to talk about is just the medical idea. Like, when we used to do open surgery, you kind of had to have physical mentorship, because you would be in the operating room with someone and they'd be showing you what to do in the operating room, and there wasn't really any other good way to transmit that information to someone. And so you really had to do a lot of surgery directly with a mentor in the operating room. But now things are very different. Since almost all surgery is done laparoscopically, all surgery can be recorded. And so you can watch someone else do surgery. So what you end up needing in order to advance your skills is real-time mentorship on how to do surgery in general, like how to understand anatomy, good technique for stopping bleeding, good technique for dissecting tissue. And once you have like those surgical fundamentals, then what you need to do is watch lots and lots and lots of surgery. And it turns out that watching videos of other people operate is way, way better use of your time than sitting in the room with someone necessarily. Like, once you have those fundamental skills, now it takes years and years and years to have those fundamental skills. And so obviously that online in real-time training is very important. But once you've kind of developed a mastery of that, actually video is extraordinarily important. And so I can tell you that I transformed as a surgeon. I can tell you the moment where I transformed as a surgeon from being kind of like a semi-competent surgeon to sort of just leveling up into what I would consider getting to be an expert level of surgery. I was at AEGL like 12, 13 years ago, and this guy named Shailesh Puntambakar, who's this Indian surgeon who's been very prolific now, he produced a video that was an anatomic dissection of a cadaver that was more detailed than anything I'd ever seen before, and he explained anatomy in a way that I had never really fully considered. I watched that. I got a copy. I went up to him and I said, "That video is amazing. I want to watch it again. Can I have a copy?" And he gave me a copy. I watched it like 100 times, and I also showed it to every trainee and resident I'd ever worked with again. I said, "Hey, you got to watch this video." And that was such a jumping off point for my surgical career that it was transformational. Like, my understanding of pelvic anatomy completely changed from watching that video. And you have to think, like, I never could have gotten that opportunity just being in an operating room with somebody. That happened because you could record what is being done. And so surgical education has just been transformed by video. So now, if we're going to say that publishing surgical video is helpful to teach other surgeons how to operate, what is the most effective way to distribute that video? And the answer is social media, of course. Like, if you put video, have to go through a peer-reviewed process and send it into a journal, and people have to agree that they like it, and then they put it on a very narrowly viewed site that nobody even goes to. Like, nobody goes to, I mean, very, very few people say go to the website of the American Journal of Gynecologic Laparoscopists journal. It's called JMIG. Very few people go to the JMIG site and like watch the videos that are there that people have published that are peer-reviewed videos. Like, compared to what people watch on YouTube or watch on social media, I mean, it's like a vanishingly tiny fraction of what people watch on YouTube and social media. So if I wanted to create something that was educational for other surgeons, and my only goal, forget about marketing the practice, just about transmitting my skills to other less experienced surgeons that I might actually help them to be better. By far, in a way, the best way to do that would be to publish that on social media. Not even close. And so this sort of ivory tower view that somehow being in, putting out videos on social media is bad, I think is just fucking ridiculous. Like, it's insane. And so that's my opinion. I think that whoever wrote that article is just nuts. They totally don't get it. And then we get into the idea of like, what is the best way to, help our patients be educated about these disease states? And I think that people are very, very interested in seeing what is going on in their own body. I mean, every single patient that I have, I record that video and I share it with that person after the surgery. And in the future, if they ever come back and we're having any issues or whatever, by far the best way for me to know exactly what we did is I just pull up the video I have it all on a hard drive, and I go, oh, let's look at your video from 3 years ago, let's see what we did. I may not remember that person as well because I operate on hundreds of people a year, but I can pull up that video and probably I'm gonna remember the surgery. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that surgery. So having video of every single surgery you do, it's incredibly, incredibly helpful. And so once you have that, why not publish some things, help teach people, yes, help market the practice, of course, that is part of it, and also to help to teach other physicians. I have physicians come up to me all the time that say that they learn stuff from watching videos that I put out. And so I think it's incredibly important. So part of why I record this video is to other surgeons. If you read this editorial and you're going like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do stuff online, forget it. Don't listen to it. It's a bunch of nonsense. Like, we are in the world that we're in. If you have good things to share them. I think it's very, very helpful. I think it's helpful to other physicians. I think it's helpful to patients to find you for your practice, of course. And I think it's really helpful to grow the general education of everything. The one admonition I get is that if you do a surgery for the very first time and you're proud of it, don't put that out. Like, it's probably not very good. Like, when you've done something a lot of times and you really have mastery of it, then that's good to put it out. But putting it out to kind of like promote yourself when you did something for the very first time, it's like, I see videos like that sometimes and I'm like, dude, that wasn't really very good. Like, I'm not, and yet the lay people don't necessarily know that. And yet as a surgeon, I go like, that wasn't very good. So let me talk about a couple of things that I really don't like in social media. I do not like the pattern that has been developing of surgeons denigrating less experienced surgeons. You might say I just said something like that, but I don't mean it that way. What I see is a pattern of surgeons like going out of their way to talk about how less experienced surgeons are crappy, or that people misdiagnosed things, or they didn't recognize things, in a way to elevate themselves and saying, I'm so expert, these other guys are a bunch of jerks. I have done that occasionally, but I really try not to. By and large, physicians want to help their patients. And asking a general OBGYN to be good at diagnosing endometriosis and good at operating on endometriosis, you may as well ask them to be good at neurosurgery. They're just not trained in it. So asking them to be good at that is ridiculous. And also sort of like being angry at them for not being better doctors. I'm like, well, that's just not what their training was. I think you can be angry at a general system that does not train OBGYNs at being good at doing endometriosis stuff. You can say that the system isn't good, it should be better. But the individuals that failed, the people that feel failed by their doctors, it's unfortunate that the system doesn't really train general OBGYNs very well. And one of the things that we want to teach in video and social media is that, that there is another level of expertise, and if you're not getting help, you should seek a higher level of expertise. That doesn't mean that you should be like vitriolically angry at the people that failed you, because they did the best they could. And so I don't like it. There are some of my colleagues who are prolific at social media who really, one of the prototypes of the content they put out is to talk shit about other people who are not as experienced as they are. I don't like that at all. I think it kind of shows a lack of character, to be honest. I don't think that that's very, and in the long run, I'm not even sure it's good for the promotion of their practice. I think that sort of trying to say you're good by pointing out how other people are not very experienced at stuff is, I think it's kind of low class, personally. And to the extent that I've done that in the past, I apologize. Like, I try not to do it. I do talk about sometimes, oh, well, somebody didn't recognize this or that. But I try not to go like, oh, what an asshole that person is. It's like, no, they just did the best they could. They just weren't experienced enough. So to the person who wrote some big scribe or, about how terrible it is that doctors put stuff on social media, I completely disagree with you. I think you're wrong. And I think you should wake up and join us in the real world. And finally, I would say, like, if it weren't for stuff online, like, I wouldn't have a practice. You know how many people I help every year? Like, if I were just waiting for people to find out that I exist, I wouldn't have a practice. Like, just crazy. But, I think that to that person, I think he's out of his mind. But at the same time, to other physicians who may have listened to this long, if you have found your way in social media by talking badly about other doctors, I challenge you to be better. You may know who you are. Like, I don't think that's really that effective marketing, because people don't like it when people talk badly about other people. That's not really, it doesn't really make you look good. And I actually just think it's shitty. So I would encourage the world to not. Just put out great content of what you're able to do that's really educational. And there's a concept of the thank you economy. You go out and put stuff for the benefit of the world, and in return the world will come back to you, as opposed to just directly saying that I'm great, this other person sucks. And so to the extent that that part of social media exists, I don't like that. Okay. I was, but I can edit it. What's up? That's it. Thanks for listening. I hope you listened this long, and I look forward to putting out more content in the future.